is one of those champions, everybody knows this if you play enough solo queue. I see it a lot in solo queue nowadays, especially in Korea, by the way. If you mess up a team fight, something goes wrong, even one mistake, and the Vayne is playing well and has decent farm, all of a sudden she gets a double kill, a triple kill, and the game kind of runs away with you. Then you find yourself desperately trying to dive onto the Vayne and just trying to kill it and get it out of the game. But in the hands of someone like Ruler, I really like this kind of strategy, especially taking risks against a team like Griffin.
Now, I agree with that premise holistically, but then I look at the Griffin comp and they have so many high damage champions who can threaten you against a short range carry. Even Galio starts channeling taunt. If his flash is up, Nico and Vayne are screwed in terms of effective DPS. So I don't know if this is the time, but I do take my hat off to Ruler. This is going to be a really fun one. It's his pro debut on the Vayne. He has never played it in competitive play.
There you go. Throwing caution to the wind here in game number 1 is GenG. We'll see if it does work out up against Griffin. Hopping out of the rift here for game number 1.
GenG got droned out a little bit by the Thunder Sticks. Is there going to be competitive ruling on Thunder Sticks to get some even trades going on these fan chats? Who knows?
There were definitely some fans in there of GenG or of Griffin that were purposely banging their Thunder Sticks into the GenG chant. So,
well, you know who purposely locked in Vayne? Our boy Ruler. He has been on a personal tear this season and in solo queue current rank 2. And he's going for the screw it Vayne approach. Uzi, of course, famous for this one. It's definitely a time where more and more people are experimenting with running Vayne. Professional player did his pro debut on the pick. However, while I don't mind it in the lane, especially when Galio's flash is down, it is the sort of game where you see Chovy's threat level on an 80 carry. We have 4 80 carries in this game, right? With Nico also being on the rift. Tarzan will have a targeted dive in. You were pointing out that the buff rune of Cut Down is actually used by... Actually, it might have been last stand.
I think that's Last Stand.
Sometimes I can't tell them apart. Let's say Last Stand, because that makes more sense with the baiting ability of your ultimate. Getting some first picks. Again, we're left with Chovy on the cleanse. Corki versus Lysandra. There should be very little threat in this lane, like when we have Corki versus Galio, but it's also a champion that's very hard to gank for because he doesn't provide much CC. And it might mean that Griffin will be a bit more passive around their mid laner than they usually are.
Could mean good things here. I'm excited for this one, just to see if GenG can actually put up a fight with a weird draft like this. Is Griffin going to be ready for something like this is another question you have to ask. Maybe the Nico top is something they would have expected, but the Vayne into the bot lane, I don't know if anybody expected that one.
Did they expect Hotfix nerfed Nico top, though? Because yes, as we mentioned in the pre-game, 27 games recently from Cuvée, and he has played it after Hotfix, but a lot of flat damage was removed, right, and some attack speed scaling from this champion. What remains, and I think the thing that's most under-discussed about Nico, especially when Rageblade is done, is that you have 100% uptime on a 40% movement speed steroid. People don't know this. When you get the on-hit damage, which is enough from 170 at rank 5 to 130, so 40 damage shaved off, you also get 40% movement speed, and you're basically proccing that every second order. As around the mid lane, OB.
Okay, Cleanse comes in early, trying to beat that flash out here. They will get it. Chovy able to put out a bunch more damage, but an early double summoner away from the Corki is not half bad.
And does this mean that priority for the Corki goes down? Chovy in an interview, when he was asked about the mid lane Galio blind pick they did against Sandbox, said, well, I was confident in getting priority with this champion. When your summon is up and you have Cleanse, you don't care about Lysandra. She's not going to blow you up. But Jarvan has a lot of ability to creatively playmate. They haven't used any summoners themselves. And yes, Corki will always be able to farm, but to push and have priority early, that might actually be on a timeout for the next 5 minutes.
It's going to be a while here before he does get that back, and the question is, can Peanut hit level 6 and get back here for a follow-up gank? Would be nice to see some proactivity from a guy who has been struggling a little bit here in the LCK so far.
And honestly, proactivity and the ability to get over a struggle is also something Cuvée is looking for. He's had some isolated decent performances, but not the Cuvée hard carry moments that many years of Gauntlets have reminded us of. And Nico I think still reaches raid boss status. I think she still becomes very strong later, but the flat damage is obviously irrelevant in terms of the damage output. Her ability to kite around and just auto, once you get some attack speed items done, hasn't really been touched. Like I mentioned, the movement speed is still there and still very oppressive. Locking her down with her W and her ultimate as threat removal buttons is still there. So the play pattern is still the same, but just the sheer ability to make Sword unable to enter lane on a pick like Rise is not there in terms of balance level right now.
The Corki, definitely a pick that I've played a lot of. You can get some pretty insane wave clear, and having a little bit of help from Tarzan early on is very nice before he does get his missiles, of course, and before he does do a bit more damage. Can be hard in the early game. You're kind of just sitting here playing it safe, trying to farm up as much as possible. Getting a little bit of help from your friend in the jungle is always going to be nice.
But if you just actually intelligently talk about the point you're making, it's a lot of before things happen, Corki doesn't do a lot. And before those things happen, yes, Lissandra's life in the 1v1 laning phase isn't great, but with summoners down, her life's a bit better. And playing around Lissandra is super reliable. Lissandra roams way better than Corki. Corki takes a really long time to come online, whatever build you're going for on Corki. So the fact that his laning phase is now a lot more passive and Lissandra has a CS lead, and we'll get to the one item phase where she's going to hit the Rift earlier and more reliably, there is actually a big lull around Chovy's instant impact, and that's not usually how Griffin are playing. Plus Nocturne takes time to get going, so given the top lane priority lead is to the Nico, and now it's about even, maybe a slight advantage to Lissandra. Only bot lane is that losing priority lane for the side of Gen G, and Griffin are waving a white flag for the early game, which honestly, I've criticized them for many times, and after that early gank, it's probably going to be another one of those from Griffin.
Yeah, Corki definitely one of those champions that you always want to kind of stay ahead of the curve. If you're ever behind, you do at times feel kind of useless when the enemy team gets a bunch of defensive items and sitting there. Okay, we're just going to be diving here for first blood.
All right.
And getting that taunt off and a little bit too much damage, more than Life was expecting, killing him through the heel.
I was just savoring your smart point there, Valdez, and then a 2v1 kill with no summoners used apart from Ignite actually just happened. Yeah. Ruler has
Ignite
Cleanse Flash and wasn't able to do anything, and Braum was alone and Life just dies, so let's watch the replay here. This is Life saying, maybe I can find a way to keep this turret healthy and deny a turret play. This is the opposite of greeting for a Demolish proc. He greeted to stop a turret play from going down and just straight up die.
And again, that kill brought to you by Aftershock. Able to get that kill because, well...
Wait, what's the Aftershock tagline? Give the full ad read out there. Aftershock? How does it go? It's just the
breaking
beginning.
The game since 2018.
There we go.
Something like that.
Come on, they paid for the shout-out. We might as well give the full shout-out. I like it.
As, again, if you don't have Aftershock there, Galio dies probably 3 turret hits instead of, what was it, 5?
LEC just added another sponsor in Red Bull. We got to shout out our sponsors, Aftershock.
It's true. Does sound like a very nice energy drink when you think about it.
I'd try it. What flavor do you think it would be?
Green flavor.
Yeah, it would be green, but it would taste green. That's the thing, is green flavor is not actually apple flavor, it's green flavor. Yeah. Apple flavor is kind of the brownish apple juice flavor, so I agree with you. Highlighter green as well. It needs to look
highlighter
toxic.
Green?
Yes.
Yeah. It tastes very artificial. Hints of apple, green apple, but not really. As, yeah, I mean, it looks like such a, kind of a weird way to get that kill, but it's actually really smart from Lehens and Viper to know that they can dive there and not even have to use Flash because of the damage they pack, and of course, Aftershock.
And that's kind of the worst part for Ruler, is that Vayne is a champion, because we don't often have to think about what comps Vayne likes to play against and what comps she's good against, what she's bad against, because usually she's either not played or you're like, okay, into a lot of tanks, and with a big frontline and an Ardent Sensor meta, she makes some sense. Remember Uzi playing her, of course, at Worlds 2017. But here's a champion that Vayne's bad against, Rise. Another champion that she's bad against is Galio, and that's because champions that can punish short-range champions are very strong against Vayne. All her damage is in her effective auto-attack range. She has no ability that outranges her auto-attack range, and because of that, a targeted root from Ryze and a flash taunt from Galio will almost certainly catch Vayne if that's their decision. Cleanse, of course, helps with that, but what I'm trying to say here is this is very much, okay, a lot's been banned. This can run the laning phase. They even banned my damn Tristana.
Yeah.
I'm going to fall back on my first time in pro play Vayne, but it's not actually an enemy comp that I would rate Vayne as a champion against. Yes, from ahead you can snowball and blow squishies up, but already from the early game you can see that is a very bold call against Griffin.
Vayne also not fantastic against 2-3 item Corki either, because you
get damaged to death.
You rock it, you get the Trinity Force proc plus the what's that item that extends your range?
Rapid Fire Cannon.
Rapid Fire Cannon, and you just use 2 abilities in a split second, and Vayne is at half health. And it's like, well, can I enter the fight from here?
Also,
Probably not.
If you're going for an ARAM, then she just gets poked, of course, by Corki very reliably. Nocturne presses R, and yes, she can be annoying and go invisible, but it's very hard to get maximum damage and ignore Nocturne at the same time. So very, very hard for her to beat reliable CC and huge burst damage, and Griffin have both. So I'm hyped to see the Vayne, and it feels like a ruler champion because of his existential struggles trying to carry a Genji lineup. But for this particular game, bold is the understatement of the year.
It definitely is. And we were talking a little bit about the Corki wanting to be ahead of the curve. Love the call pickup, especially after that hard early game. He gets his summoners back, and he's like, well, now I'm definitely not going to die because I have some items now, but also the call can accelerate that. Here comes Lehens.
Yep.
Is going to find Peanut. There is the taunts. There is the Nocturne. See you later, Jarvan. And will they go for more kills? Trying to get on top of Juve here is Sword, but they will absolutely take down Shelly just for one ultimate.
And Peanut just tried to stay on the objective, and honestly, it was almost a solo kill from Lehens. Peanut was so low. Was trying to play around priority. You know why he started the Drake, but it was such a bad time. He was caught with his pants down. And Lehens, who, of course, with the lane being broken in bot side. Speaking of deaths, Peanut doesn't know. To the tune of Scotty doesn't know.
Yeah.
Peanut doesn't know.
Well,
that Galio's here, and now he's in all sorts of trouble.
Tarzan wasn't in position, though, unfortunately. Not able to get that damage done. Peanut
He just died to the
away.
Galio and got chased out by the Galio.
True. He's once again doing nothing except getting chunked out and having to go back to base. So that's very effective, Papa.
Well, support Galio, and sometimes he deserves the air quotes because Galio does a lot of damage. Has done a number on your boy Peanut.
Aftershock does damage too, by the way, as if it needed to.
Could you stop selling out Aftershock, please? We're trying to be subtle around our sponsors.
I just think that even without the damage, Aftershock is broken, but now it has damage. You don't even think about it too often, but just a little bit of extra burst to throw into Galio's kit. Why not?
This isn't free damage, actually. Galio's getting DPS for free.
Into the knockup. Can they get the kill here? One more auto will do it, and there it is. And in fact, it's a shutdown, which means some extra gold will go into Vayne's pockets.
And that's the one there, the free damage, the press the attack proc, and that's why I said this actually could be really big here. Lehens is so bold, his flash is down, his ignite is down. Viper doesn't have heal to help him out. There's no Fate's Call to talk about. Remember your analysis, the solo queue analysis of Vayne is, if you're asleep at the wheel, you're expecting to be at the wheel because you're expecting to have the tempo advantage over a Vayne. She needs her time. But if you're asleep at the wheel, Vayne can punish you, and that is just a gift-wrapped kill over the ruler.
It's very true. You have to make sure that you're shutting down that Vayne at any cost and giving her extra gold, kind of just parading through the jungle.
The Hens feel strong, he's walking through the river. That part is fine, but then he really needs to adjust his positioning earlier. His first movement you saw was a stutter step towards the mid lane, or towards the river, if you will, and that just allowed, when he self-slowed them, to DPS him down. Now, they can play around the problem in the bot lane, but nothing Viper could do in that scenario. Get the Rift Herald charge, it's more gold to Chovy, and he's the man who wants that gold injection. We know he's craving those big ticket items.
Genji trying to make it into the river, looking for Lehens once again. He does not have his flash. Look at Juve from behind. Can they get Lehens down? Here it is, right on top of 2. They're going to get a double kill in the river. Nice setup play here by GENG.
And while Sword would have called them missing, all he's going to get is the turret up top. A lot of turret plates, it seems, as well, given how low it is. Sleep with the wheel a second time. They keep being just too bold bottom side the map. Usually, in a tone-deaf sense, you're like, okay, it's Lucian, so we're going to be fine bot side. But they just dropped a kill. They face check, and nice punishment on the TP flank from QV.
Definitely is nice. Bit of gold given away to the Rise in the top lane, which is always scary, but at least Ruler gets a couple more assists under his belt, some more XP, and should be feeling quite nice here on the Vayne so far.
And before you look for mortal damage being done to Griffin, do take a gander at the gold lead. Remember all the turret plates we're referring to. A lot of turret plates have been cashed in, so the gold lead's still pretty significant. But moments like this are happening in a 9th versus 1st matchup. They go down for the scuttle, and Lehens for another time is caught in no man's land. I love the QV flank. Remember, this is like an AD cannon and AD Nico, so Pop Blossom is just but it is a nice combo. It is a nice play. Even moments in the early game where GENG can say, hey, we can mod review that TP gank. That was good. If we do that against another team, it might be a game breaker. Yeah. Even finding good passes to play, even finding good things to repeat in the future is good news for a GENG team that have must-win opponents in a Freak of Freeze coming next week.
Good practice, if you will. We'll see if they can actually make this play into something more, but as you mentioned, down about 3,000 gold, okay. Almost had the NA map making its way back into the stream, but I saved myself there. As Peanut going for the Ocean Drake here. Just gonna try to get this one. Certainly will help out in a bunch of those lanes.
And it's around the area that all the bad news stories for Lehens has happened. He's found all his advantages. Top side and bot side hasn't worked, so play around what you have bot side, and just the fact that we're saying, playing around a Vayne who's up in gold against their opponent, or at least even, can be important. This is a new feature, by the way. It's been brought up. I mentioned the Africa TV one on Twitter, and talk to the observers, and look at this. We now know 8 turret plates, 1280 gold cashed in by Griffin. That's a lot of the gold lead. Look at this. Yeah. Just look at the two numbers and say, that's 1,100-ish gold that has been granted from turret plates, and that goes a long way to explaining Griffin's good gold position.
Yeah, everybody, including me, wants easy numbers just placed right in front of you so you know exactly where that gold lead comes from. It's from the CS difference, but also the plates, and that's part of the reason why winning lanes is even more important now in this day and age with turret plates.
And when you see in other regions, NA production not there, KR production is there. So KR production coming through. As Rise.
Ooh, Sword takes 3 turret shots. Goes down to the last one. Tarzan trying to take him out here, though. Will be able to on the backside, but he does make it happen there on the solo kill, and now Peanut trying to make it a 2-for-1 and should be able to, as Tarzan is going to go down. Another good play here for GENG.
Solo kill onto the top lane. That's a big one for QV. Even after the hotfix finding the solo kill, the root came down, and then we watched the chipping damage and say, wait, is he going to get it? And the answer was yes. And Tarzan gift wraps a second kill. Watch the replay and watch for the change in the root. It gets the full duration under turret Valdez. Remember, that was the big buff on the champion on patch 9.5. They finish off the kill. Tarzan, yes, he gets in there, but it's a one-way trip. And this is some sloppy stuff from Griffin. They're not asleep at the wheel, but they probably need to drink some of those energy drinks we're talking about. Shout out to Red Bull and the LEC, because that's another kill to Griffin.
But clearly the Rise did not have his Aftershock. Packing the phase rush in this game not going to help you. Imagine if he had those extra resistances. He'd be alive in this one. Drink your Aftershock, ladies and gentlemen.
Wow, okay. This is way more competitive. This is feeling like the last year series that we kind of felt insulting to our viewers' intelligence to reference back when GENG was obviously doing a lot better, but that 2-0 for GENG was such an amazing series. It was really, really great. If you're bored and want to relive a great series, second round robin of 2018 summer, Griffin GENG was one of the best regular season matches we ever had. Of course, that's something that's in context, given that we had an amazing regular season match between SKT and Griffin last week. QV only had a couple of points in that route, and yet the duration was already enough on the turret to pick up plenty of kills. And that one No points in this queue from what I saw, because of course, no real value on the on-hit. You're really about the W, the R, but even the E can be a 1-2 point wonder, and when it comes to team fights, it gives you some utility as well.
We return to the land of Vane, who is still down here in the bottom lane. Neither turret has gone down before 20 minutes just before, here at 1930. Pretty uncommon, especially for a Lucian lane. Generally you do see that Lucian winning hard, but they've kept that lane alive. And well, here we go, 2-on-1 onto the top side here. They are going to find Cuvée as the fear does come down. They just alley-oop that kill over to Sori.
No Jarvan there. That was, of course, the Nico taken down. The escape plans for the Nico with Flash down and with W not being enough. Tether remaining, I believe, on the Paranoia there. On the E that comes through from the Nocturne. But they're actually chasing for a counter kill.
Here we go again. That smite comes in. Sword does have a massive shield, but is it going to matter here? As finally, they are going to blow that ultimate to secure that kill.
Nice roam timing. Fly has been on point with some of these roams so far this game. Finds a time where he just doesn't straight up lose his mid lane turret as well. Turret is low, but Corki doesn't have that turret gold. Again, this is still in service of a gold lead for Griffin. Their farm numbers are good, and the turret plates that we showed after 14 minutes tell a tale. But this game isn't done and dusted, Valdez, and that's why we can talk about it with some realistic height. Now, as you notice, if you don't kite a big enough direction, and that Fear Tether got extended range in one of the buffs from Nocturne maybe like 6 months ago, 1 year ago.
Yeah.
Tether range isn't broken, and that means the Nico goes down.
Then just to follow up here, Sheriff's is stunned. Sword as well does have the Rise shield, so survives for longer than you would expect. Still doing okay outside of that mistake in the top side. He's still about 50 CS ahead of Cuvée, so feeling good about his Rise so far.
The worry is, that, again, our lay opinion, because there's so few pro games, especially in Korea, of top lane Nico plus 80 carry Vayne. That may have never happened in pro players duo, and the Nico pick is new. The Corki hasn't been played much in Korea. Our lay opinion is the amount of threat onto the hyperscaler on Gen G, the Vayne, is too much, so we like Griffin scaling, but we also know that if Vayne hard carries, you can't be too surprised because of the champion's reputation, and Nico at 4 items is very hard to actually kill. She is really slippery. So while I'm willing to give Griffin the advantage, it's not a wholesale advantage until it's proven on the pro level, and that's why stacking up some Drakes and maybe even just some more mistakes from Griffin later, Gen G could still take this one at late game.
You can definitely see it from a team fight that's not perfect. You know, maybe you're able to get a bunch of damage onto the Nico, but then the Vayne survives once we get, 3-4 items. Or vice versa. They get on top of Ruler, they expend everything, but then Cuvé's like, hey, by the way, I'm still here in this team fight. I'm doing damage.
And we only have damage threats, really. It's not a Cinderhawk Jarvan, which to me is a surprise. It's a Warrior Jarvan, it's a Braum, it's a Lissandra. You got a temporary front line with things like the Self-Ult and the Braum Unbreakable. Otherwise, people die really fast. And Griffin have a lot of damage too. And from a similar perspective, it's not Righteous Glory or Rylai's on the rise. It's a damage rise build. Galio's a temporary frontliner and Tarzan's a diver, so you mess up, especially around a frontliner, and then maybe your carries can't do damage because you're just zoned by all the threats on the enemy team.
Well, we're going to have to wait and see if Griffin can win some of these fights here and try to stop the train.
Here's the good news. It's a pain train on both sides, so you're not going to have to really have those deep lungs today. These are going to be short and sweet. The winner of the team fight will be decided in the first 6 seconds.
A couple of auto attacks from Vayne or Nico, and somebody's dying, and the same thing can be said about Lucian that gets his items, the Corki that's staring down the barrel of his own Infinity Edge here soon, as well as the Rise, who we already know is quite fed.
Now that I'm 32, I've been staring down the barrel of my own mortality from time to time. I'm getting old, Valdez. Old man Papa, old man Score. I think literally every champion here's own mortality is flashing in front of their eyes. That's how much damage there is in game number 1.
Feels a bit like a solo queue game, but with more competitive, LCK picks. If you do think about it, solo queue would have more Yasuo, more Zed, more Master Yi coming from the jungle, but certainly does feel like an insane amount of damage for an LCK game.
I'll take it out as I wanted more damage. I wanted more aggression, but speaking of aggression.
Okay, well, in a bit of trouble, but out of vision, actually. does go the Jarvan.
That was a really good buffering of the EQ. It was probably more fortunate than fully planned. But Peanut has been next level with some of his input buffering. This guy usually is very micro-talented in terms of his outplace in Italy main, lest we forget. So that was actually really well done from Peanut. He yoinked his way out there. That means that he lives to fight another day and doesn't even expend a summoner doing.
You said he yoinked his way out of that one? Is that like a real word? Or?
No, I used a different word, but I've forgotten the word I used, to be honest.
Okay.
He finessed his way out there is what you should remember me saying.
So not yoinked. I'll throw that one out.
Maybe yoinked his way out.
Maybe. But
I say a lot of words about this.
You do. It is your job. That's what you were put on this earth for, I guess.
Well, you know what Corki was put on the earth to do? Damage. And he's pretty close. That Infinity Edge ain't too far away. 2 core items done. And to me, he's the closest to reaching fully form of any of the late game champs now. 2-item Vayne and 2-item Elution can definitely have their moments, but the Corki compounding it could be really big here, because look at Gen G and point to the person who's tanky to 3-item Corki. Point to them, Valdez. You're not pointing to anyone.
Yeah. I lost the ability to do that in this game.
I guess Guardian Unbreakable level 5 heal Braum will take a little bit to die.
Lissandra can waste some time. It's just about it. She doesn't exactly tank.
I disagree with that. I think people don't respect zone controls as a tanking ability. Speaking of tanking ability.
Oh, nice block there, actually. It gets Ruler, but it doesn't matter, as it does get Lehens into some danger. Look at the damage already that comes out of Ruler, and Peanut able to dunk down the Galio.
Lehens is frontlining, and he's a support Galio, and he's not able to do that. He has a frozen heart. I'm not sure that was complete before. That is a very greedy item to build. It's usually at the cost of utility. No utility here. We're just doing damage.
Yeah, you can see the difference. Toby gets the jump there on Fly, and it is a jump scare indeed. He doesn't even have his Infinity Edge yet. Should be a fun game here as the game does go along.
If you're not a fan of horror games like Amnesia, maybe even the first Resident Evil if you're a golden oldie, look away, because the amount of jump scares in this game, if the brush isn't warded, someone who can kill you in 2 seconds could be in there. As we watch the replay on this one, Lehens tries to frontline, but the moment the Justice Punch messes up, not even Aftershock, our sponsor for today, is enough to make him tanky. It's a damaged Jarvan as well. They roll in, he dies. Let's watch the replay.
나이스.
Not shouting yet.
I think he said that he stopped the Justice Punch, and then he said nice. That's
Even just Ruler being able to say Naisu after 20 minutes in a game against Griffin is a micro victory for Gen G. They're not looking for the match victory yet. They'd love it, but of course, it's their future opponents they see more chance to beat. If they find a match victory, that's big. If they find even moments like that, they can parlay it forward, and that's what Gen G are focusing on, getting out of their relegation predicament.
There are always people in the predictions that say, okay, this is going to be the day. Finally, it's going to be the series where Griffin falls down to someone. And who knows? I mean, after a good performance so far, maybe we'll see some genius come out of Gen Z, and maybe they can take a game 1. It's not over yet, but it certainly has been looking pretty good for them compared to a lot of their other series so far.
Play-by-play trick usually is focusing on 80 carries living or dying in teamfight. That normally lets you know how to frame a teamfight. I'm going to say the next fight is Corki versus Vayne if it comes to who the main event is. 3-item Corki with package is done. Strongest point of the game for Corki, but he gets stronger obviously time. But relatively, based on how much gold is in the game, Corki is probably at his strongest. And Vayne has 3 items as well, so those to me are the asset tests here. Speaking of Vayne, and she's in the mid lane, they get this mid lane outer turret. Vayne really bad at sieging, so taking a mid lane outer turret is relevant. Here's the dive.
Hey, trying to get onto that Vayne you were talking about, but already Nocturne taking a ton of damage, and Ruler just turning on Toby here, saying get away from me, but in the end, life is going to go down. Cuvée comes in, but that's a 1v5, my friend. Not going to be able to do too much damage there. Stops the onslaught. But in the end, life does go down.
Very hard to use on-hit Nico as a flanking tool. It's not AP Kenneth like it can be in the AP build. So you're the most temporary frontline ends after Ruler is already out of the fight. So that's not a good timing for Cuvé's entrance. He wants to be kiting back. That's where Nico's strong, kiting forward or back, rather than looking for any sort of side lane flank. However, it was trying to spare the blushes after life went down. Big damage happens, but the cost is in summoners for Chovy. No flash used on Vayne. The moment that Nocturne presses his button, you know the full engage is coming. We had the vision toggle to know it. Critical that Vayne gets out of this without using her flash, but Life is the one who has to pay the cost.
Somebody's got to protect, and you notice that Vayne not able to do much, and Guardian Angel finished here on the Tarzan on the Nocturne, still has it available for the next fight.
So Papa Smithy, what am I looking for in a team fight Genji wins? It's a fair question, because we saw their attempt right there and it wasn't how they wanted to set up. And we already mentioned there's no frontliners for Chovy. Chovy's going to face check. Not going to face check this. Really nice little poke there. Can of course poke from range like an Ezreal. Well, the answer to that question that I have posed to myself is a lot of temporary tankiness, temporary frontline. Cuvée goes in, Pop Blossom gets out. Jarvan with Warrior goes in, Cataclysm gets out. Lissandra comes in after that, uses self-ult and gets out, while Ruler is free hitting. So you have temporary frontliners who can be tanky for 2-3 seconds, and Vayne can just hopping mad, tumble along and do damage. Is what an extended team fight on Genji's terms looks like. It's hard to pull off, and if one person's out of position to start it, you never actually get the dominoes set up, and that means the dominoes kind of just fall apart.
It's true. It's definitely not a try this at home kind of team composition. Will take a lot of skill to actually pilot this up against Griffin. Third Ocean Tree picked up here for Genji right before the Elder is going to spawn next time. So they do have that nice siege, but it's not going to help them too much if they get full-on dove here by Griffin.
The burst damage for Griffin, and that's weird to say with 280 carries, but it's there, and they have a burst damage advantage. It's Corki with IE and Lucian with IE third item. That's not a normal Lucian third item.
Yeah.
He has no other critical strike benefactors. It's only the 25% that IE now provides. So even though you think Lissandra and you think burst, actually the burst advantage on the side of Griffin. But then you have on-hit build onto the Nico. You have 6 stacks of Rage Blade required. So think of this as, if the fight's super quick, Griffin should win it. If the Rage Blades can get stacked up and then the fight happens, who's to say that Genji can't pull off something tricky?
You can already see the damage that Corki does to the Vayne in the back line in that last fight that we did have, and that's before he even gets his 4th item. I'm not even sure if he had IE for that last fight.
If not for Phantom Dancer, I think that Trinity Force proc IE crit twice, Vayne might die. That's how much damage you're talking about there. And then, of course, there are many other damaging abilities for the Corki. So definitely the Phantom Dancer here. That Lifeline passive shield is going to be very useful. Genji still are able to get Baron control, though, with their comp that doesn't have much frontline. Remember that if everyone's squishy, no one can really face check, and thus Baron vision gets harder and harder. But it's a reflection of the fact that this game may not be 50-50, but it's damn near close to it. Genji able for now to not lose any presence around Baron. Now, if they lose the Baron, the Vayne wave clear problems will be amplified to the nth degree. So this Baron tussle feels like first Baron just straight up wins the game for either Griffin or Genji.
Yeah, certainly does feel like another one of those games, and you can see the importance that Genji is putting around the vision here as well. They're just throwing down almost every control ward they have around this area and trying to deny as much vision as possible and just keep control of it before the Nico and the Vayne can get some more items here.
To complete a horror movie analogy, this is definitely one of those horror movies where everyone knows they're in a horror nation, afraid of what might befall them. Not Chovy, though.
Yeah, he's got the package. And, you know,
it's looking pretty big, Valdez.
It's a big one, for sure. One of those late game packages that has grown to full size. And here we go, jumping in, straight up the fly. But look at the damage that already comes out from Ruler. Trying to make this happen as well, but Fly is going to be forced to flash away as Toby is doing insane damage. He's going in! The one missile nearly snipes one guy on the backside. Here's Cuvée, though, trying to do a little bit here. But as you mentioned, the flank not going to be good enough. And now Griffin immediately turning around and heading straight to Baron.
And their Fly was the temporary tank. Self-ult and Zhonya's 5 seconds where they couldn't kill any of the members of Genji. Here's the re-engage.
They got baited. They weren't actually going to Baron. You saw that Tarzan flashed himself on the ward. They were a little bit too close to the brush.
They got a face check from a sweeper, Valdez. That's how you find the little advantages of your top team. Another 200 IQ moment. Nice that you caught that. Genji tried as they best, and the fact they didn't die before was insane. Now we're seeing Chovy again. He knows he's a god of damage. He's basically a Shinigami in this case. He's bringing death to wherever he goes.
Corky that can get ahead of the curve and do some insane damage on 3-4 items. That's your sweet spot right here, and Jovi's feeling it. He's level 18, and I mean, he just packaged straight into 5 members in the last fight. He really doesn't give a damn right now.
Well, not many mundos to be given when you even have a Phantom Dancer to further frontline as Corky, and that's level 18. From what I remember, at level 18 is a 600 shield. Above, as the base check happens because Tarzan said, I'm gonna sweep wards out, you guys get a kill. They did exactly that. Understandable debate onto Cube, but very well executed by Griffin. And the fact that Griffin are so smart about debated moments, remember the famous face check from Smeb after they 4-man showed the top laner on the bot side, and then 4-man camped a brush. And they're doing it against Genji. It's not like they're saving the special stuff for the best of 5.
No.
They're just pulling it out there whenever they need it. And Genji forcing out a cool moment like that is another one of those small victories. It sounds dumb to mention, but given the context of 13-0 versus what, 3-10, it's still relevant.
Chovy went back and picked up the Scepter, the Paired Scepter, working towards
Another shield.
another big one. The Bloodthirster eventually, Elder is spawned here. Sword just waiting, gonna snipe out that Scuttler.
All right, Genji have to be so careful with their approach. We know that Griffin's vision here is pretty shallow, and so is Genji, so it's actually kind of a black spot on the map as people have been contesting Baron vision instead. Control Ward from both teams. It's so tricky to open anything up.
Uh-oh. You
Who's
can see them
engaging
thinking about it. Culling comes out and already light at about half health.
Griffin don't have true engage, but they don't have objective control, so they can't make Genji come to them. Genji have the engage, but are so scared to do so. They start the Baron, and now Griffin have to march to Genji's drop.
Yeah, they do have that triple ocean. In goes Tarzan looking for the steal, but they're gonna just burst him down before the fight even happens. The Baron goes the way of Genji. They get a kill and the objective. Can they get out alive is the next question. Looks like yes.
It looked bold, Vadas, but that's how you get advantage against Griffin. They can't come to you, and they want you to come to them. They force them to react, and now Griffin don't feel strong enough to rush down the Elder, and they don't know about the enemy vision, so they give it up. That's just a Baron to Genji, and it's because they made the right call of being super assertive at starting the Baron.
Gotta hand it to Genji. They showed up to play tonight. That is very, very obvious.
They have double control ward on this objective, and Griffin's comp is way better kiting back than it is diving, and they don't have true engage. Nocturne says, I don't know what the Baron's at, I have to go. And he's correct on that, but he dies, because that's all these comps do. They kill people. They kill the Nocturne, they kill the Baron, and Griffin get nothing. In fact, they lose both buffs in the picture-in-picture.
I mean, Nocturne just dies so fast, right? He didn't have GA. It looked like on that last one, he's just about to get it back, so just dies immediately. Even if he had GA, he would have died. Then they snipe the Baron and they kill him anyway. It's just like, the second he goes in, he dies, and there's not much he can do. The timing has to be perfect.
Remember that Genji, the last time we were convinced of them was the Kesper Cup final against Griffin, when they came into that with a head of steam, like this team could maybe take game off. We think Griffin's going to win. Griffin won 3-0, and Genji never looked the same. Can they actually make their 2019 season relevant against Griffin and find their groove with even a game victory? What that would mean to this team that is so down on their luck is astronomical, and they played the first 37 minutes in a very admirable way.
Definitely feels like a little bit of magic's in the air after we saw the Vayne get locked in. And, well, they have a lot of magical buffs now. They have the Elder Drake buff, the Baron buff. Now all that's left is not to throw to that insane damage that Griffin are still packing.
And it's very easy to throw for either team. No one is tanky on either side, even if Genji will now have the damage advantage. We're just wantonly applying the true damage on so many attack speed carries.
It's like a little bit of that late game solo queue where you have, 4 champions that do a bajillion damage in the late game, and you make one false step, you're gonna get blown to smithereens here.
So they cannot overstep, and Griffin love to look for a punish. Every taunt could be a taunt flash. They walk up here, and even the return damage is damn strong.
You see, like, they don't have the highest range with Nico and Vayne And so even with the Baron, it's kind of hard to push in there.
And remember, the sideways aren't being manicured by Genji. Usually the team with the Baron and Elder wants to also have the threat to silent or to play sideways where they can't be matched. Genji, they're grouping because they're scared of being forced on by the Nocturne. Don't know if that's the right way to go. They're trying to group though.
Oh, why? He went in.
Dead.
He's going to get taunted. There's that mistake
Here they
you were looking
go.
for. Into the backline, but Tarzan immediately dies. Is the damage there for Griffin? Is another question.
Oh!
Look at how much damage Bane does. What the hell is going on? They turn it around on the
That's
target.
one.
The ruler is still alive in the back line. Unbelievable. He's flashing forward.
He got him.
He kills Toby. He's looking for more as he's going to go on to Viper here. Down goes the triple. There's the Quadra. And it looks like Genji are going to win game one.
Ruler's done it on the Vayne. He managed it against the comp. That was so tricky to do. And the third defeat of the season in just best of ones is inflicted by Genji.
There it is. It's not the penta, but it means so much more than that here for Genji, who are able to smash Griffin here in game number one. I can hardly believe it, Papa.
The whole crowd is in utter disbelief. The Genji fans are here. The Griffin fans aren't shouting. We just have one hell of a series on today. And how were we to know before the series started?
Everybody's got that grin on their face now where they can feel that magic in the air I was talking about. As Griffin, they're going to have to go back to the board in the backside because how do you go up against this now? The Bane comes out, the Nico comes out, and you lose to Genji, who are in 9th place. That's definitely not a good look coming into today.
What about all the poor LCK fans that looked at the first game and said, maybe I'll sleep through the telecom one, maybe I'll ignore today.
Yeah.
Somehow, they're the ones with egg on their face. Everyone who watched this game knows it was super interesting to